Now, experts with the Kansas Department of Health are investigating an outbreak of tuberculosis near Kansas City. It's become one of the biggest disease outbreaks in the nation.
4 months ago, it was under $4 per carton of eggs. Now the national average is $10 for just 12 eggs.
We should become the essential trading partners of countries that share our values, including the UK, the EU, and leaders in Asia.
In this video, we're going to examine 3 significant topics that are making headlines today. The fallout from potential tariffs, the rising potential for civil unrest, and a massive data breach that you actually might be involved in, and outbreaks of avian flu and tuberculosis. Now, I aim to provide you with the information you need to stay informed without the hype. So let's go ahead and jump in. If you're new to this channel, my name is Chris, and on this channel, we discuss emergency preparedness, aka prepping. It's essential that we drill down to some of the news we're hearing today and plug in some solutions today to mitigate the possible disasters of the future. I've increasingly noticed an alarming trend where today's news is intended to evoke anger and not action, but I believe that action is what we need to take today to prepare ourselves against the uncertain future of tomorrow. The anger, well, that doesn't really serve us as we prepare for the challenges of the future. Before we begin, I do want to announce that we're reopening our online city prepping membership next week. And this is a community where we provide you with monthly content, live streams, and an active community to help you on your preparedness journey. We're offering a discounted rate for one day this Sunday, February 9th. And if you want early access at our discounted rate, I'll post a link in the sign up page and the description and comment section. And we'll email you a coupon code for the early sign up on Sunday morning. So let's take a look at these important stories. Tariffs. We recently released a video that delves deeper into the possible tariffs with Canada and Mexico and the tariffs that have now been applied to China. And I'm going to link to that in the comments and description section below and at the end of the video. It provides a deeper dive into the suggested tariffs and their potential impact on our daily lives if they come to fruition. Any tariff will immediately affect the tariffed items, manufacturers that use that item, shippers who transport them, and many of the other consequences that we simply don't fully understand before implementation puts pressure on the supply and demand equation, creates scarcity, or drives up costs. And as I stated in that video, I'm not an economist or a politician. My goal is to just simply examine the what-ifs of implementation and alert you to the potential consequences even without the tariff going into effect. Now, when we started writing that script for that video, tariffs were going into effect, but about an hour before I sat down to film that video, the tariffs on Canada and Mexico were postponed for 30 days. We were on top of this news and mentioned that in the video. Now, the 10% tariffs on China, however, went through 2 days later and were not postponed. Here, I want to take a moment to inform you about the often overlooked facts about tariffs, even when those tariffs don't actually come to fruition. Probably the biggest is a loss of confidence in the stability of U.S. markets. At home, this results in domestic companies scrambling to bring their product before a tariff gets enacted. They pay more for expedited shipping of their products and raw materials and then build as much of a surplus as they can ahead of any tariff. Anybody who owns a business is going to tell you that the results is a lot of overhead and lopsided balance sheets. The added cost gets passed on to you, the consumer. Countries that are threatened with tariffs, they often develop retaliatory strategies. In the case of Canada, the country had its collective finger on the trigger of tariffs worth $30 billion on items including poultry, milk, butter, pasta, alcohol, water, fruit, painting, cigarettes, seats, furniture, lighting, pillows, motorcycles, tools, shavers, and just about anything that you can think of. Now, these retaliatory tariffs, while they were not implemented, there was a populist anti-American buy Canadian movement that has resulted in orders being canceled, American liquor being pulled from shelves, and a sense of distrust in America that will linger long into the foreseeable future. And as a result of the threat of tariffs, America's sales to Canada will drop significantly. Now, this decrease in American imports and Canadians buying their products and turning away from American products led to Canada's first trade surplus in 10 months, also driven by U.S. businesses stockpiling ahead of potential tariffs. Meanwhile, the U.S. trade deficit widened sharply in December as imports surged. Countries facing tariff threats may now seek more reliable trade partners. And the possible next Prime Minister of Canada suggests Canada should become a key trade partner for the UK, EU, and Asian countries. Some argue that concessions gained through tariff threats cost essential trade partners. Now, the United States cannot mine, manufacture, and create all it consumes, and consuming less is not going to fix imbalances. Buy American It's a catchy statement, but most manufactured items have some foreign elements. Few products, such as lumber or food, solely originate in the U.S., and even American-grown food relies heavily on Canadian fertilizer. China's retaliation to tariffs will strengthen trade with BRICS nations, possibly excluding America as a future trade partner. And China is also going to use trade as a weapon while building its superpower status in a new global order. And while tariffs may have both positive and negative effects, it's crucial to understand their potential long-term implications. And I think that's what you need to take away from this. From an emergency preparedness perspective, the threat or implementation of tariffs could lead to higher prices for various goods, including backup energy sources, medicine, tools, equipment, and food. And it may be prudent to review inventories and consider potential price increases, especially given the possibility of future tariffs with Canada or Mexico and ongoing U.S. government budget negotiations. My encouragement is stay ahead of this, and no matter what your stance on tariffs may be, please understand that even the threat of a tariff may have significant implications for your future purchases. As tariffs are being used as a political weapon right now, it may be prudent not to postpone any significant purchases that you have planned for your preps. So what do you think? Are you feeling any impacts of tariffs on yourself or the industry that you work for? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks to Incogni for sponsoring this YouTube ad-free video. The number of data breaches worldwide rises every year, and in 2023, cases rose by 72% compared to the previous year. Whether you realize it or not, most of your personal information, such as your social security number, your date of birth, your home address, phone number, financial information, and so much more, it's floating around online. Data mining has become a big business over the last several years, and it allows marketers to target you when they get your personal information. How did that information end up getting online? Whether you realize it or not, your personal information is stored online in databases that commonly get hacked, resulting in your information being leaked online. Companies and bad actors specializing in finding this information spend billions to gather it. Government agencies, they do the same. So how do you remove this information from the internet? For over a year now, I've used Incogni. They've removed my personal information online, and I get daily progress updates. And as a result, I've seen a massive reduction in spam calls, letters, and emails. Now, when I Google my name, I can't find any information online, whereas in the past I could. Incogni is risk-free for 30 days, allowing you to try it out with a full refund if you're not satisfied. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use code PREPPING at the link below and get 60% off an annual plan. Civil unrest. The potential for civil unrest across America is rising, and even if that never comes to your neighborhood, it can impact your daily life, food supply, and the infrastructure systems many Americans depend on. People not reporting for work in protests or shutting down main roads, it impacts the supply chain and the economy. Many are not pleased with the rapid rollout of policies, repeal of long-held practices, and some tactics being used to circumnavigate the practice of government. I'll be honest, there's a dizzying, fast-paced implementation of some practices that cause me to have a bit of concern and is going to evoke outrage from many others. This week, a growing movement opposing this administration's early actions organized protests across all 50 states. Now, this nationwide demonstration, with many at state capitals and major cities, has the potential to significantly disrupt labor and infrastructure, potentially impacting people regardless of their location. And this movement, which has quickly gained traction through grassroots efforts and social media, is rallying against these new policies, particularly immigration and government restructuring. Now, the scale and coordination of these protests suggests a level of organization that could lead to widespread disruptions in daily life, potentially affecting transportation, businesses, and public services across the country. You do need to be aware of the disruptions and infrastructure that these protests can cause, but also understand the underlying reasons for the frustration. There's some deep distress. Even the flag in front of the State Department was recently hoisted upside down by someone in the State Department. Flying it in this upside-down manner is an international sign of immediate distress. The most alarming thing for many is that an unappointed and unelected team comprised of a teenager and 20-year-old techies under the guidance of Elon Musk and a non-government approved entity called DOGE with zero oversight or regulation has been accessing an extraordinary amount of data, some of which is classified. For what purposes, the general public doesn't even know, and even Congress doesn't know. Medicare, Medicaid, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the United States Agency for International Development are among the agencies where systems have been accessed and data harvested. Now, DOGE workers also access employee data from the Office of Personnel Management, the federal government's human resource arm. And this means that DOGE has the names and background information of every government worker, including undercover intelligence agents. Now, this level of classified access is now in the hands of an ad hoc agency led and staffed by individuals lacking security clearance and with backgrounds in hacking. More concerning is the access given to the United States Treasury. Initial reports state that only read access was provided, but follow-up information revealed that a DOGE team member with admin-level access may be collecting banking, Social Security, tax, and benefit information of over 275 million Americans, with your personal information likely being exposed or harvested. Reports indicate some of this data is being fed into AI models, raising concerns about national security breaches. As preppers, we have to remain vigilant and apprehensive about government involvement in our lives. Distrust of government is inherent in our community. And at City Prepping, we encourage digital prepping, which involves organizing digital files and securing your digital footprint from hackers. And while DOGE's intentions may be to reduce waste and increase efficiency, which, hey, I'm 100% for on the surface, the fact that our vital information, our vital records are now on a known hacker's portable hard drive and fed into AI, I think that should be concerning. I don't know the level of access granted or what's going to be done with the harvested information. However, I won't blindly accept that this unprecedented and insecure access is beneficial and is not going to lead to a nefarious outcome. And I don't think anyone can say with any credible certainty. Even one device plugged into the wrong computer can result in major security breaches. And if you have concerns or you want to make your voice heard, I'll provide links to contact your representative or senator in the comments and description section below. I encourage you to let them know your stance. And regardless of your stance on DOGE's access to these vital government records, I encourage all viewers to take some standard steps. First, print paper copies of statements from any government agency you deal with, such as Social Security, Medicare, or the Veterans Administration. And while these systems are robust and they're backed up, they are susceptible to hacking and backdoors. Secondly, you should probably put a free freeze on your credit at the three main credit agencies: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. The Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act, passed in 2018, allows consumers to place free credit freezes on their reports, and this prevents anyone from making inquiries against your credit. Nobody can grant a loan without a hard inquiry, and you can toggle this freeze on and off as needed. And since it's free and easy to do, I suggest everyone do it. So what do you think? Is the potential for civil unrest something that concerns you? Are you concerned about these actions at the U.S. Treasury, or your personal, your private information is being accessed without security clearance, or are you just not worried about it at all? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Outbreaks. You may not have heard of some of the recent outbreaks. Communications from the CDC and WHO have been suspended, so news agencies are slower in picking up any information to report. You can still see the impact of the avian flu on the poultry, egg, and dairy industries in the form of higher prices, but there's also a significant outbreak of tuberculosis in the United States, which I'll get into in just a moment. Now, first, you may be asking yourself when this global egg crisis may pass, and unfortunately, I don't have great news for you on that front. There's going to be an anticipated drop of cases in avian flu as the weather warms and migratory birds fly north, reducing the risk of transmission, which is the highest during the winter months when birds fly south. Now, warmer weather can lead to a decline in cases as birds migrate north, reducing the density of interactions that facilitate the spread of the virus. Now, additionally, ultraviolet radiation from increased sunlight, it can help deactivate the virus in the environment. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that the egg-laying hens that have been culled or died from bird flu need to be replaced in our food supply chain. From hatchling to egg layer, it takes about 4 to 6 months, so the earliest we could see any relief from the current egg shortage would be around midsummer. While avian flu is less deadly in the United States, dairy cattle causing illness and reduced milk production but low mortality, a new strain of H5N1 bird flu, the D1.1 genotype, has recently been detected. Now, this raises concerns about its spread and impact on milk production. Experts warn the evolving virus, likely transmitted by wild birds, could evade immunity from previous strains, increasing risk for dairy herds and necessitating stricter biosecurity measures to prevent further outbreaks. We're going to continue to monitor this, of course, as it relates to our food supply, but we expect it will impact dairy prices in the short term. We still don't think human transmission of avian flu is concerning to us, as the spread of it is mostly at this time amongst poultry and cattle. Now, more concerning to humans is the tuberculosis outbreak happening in 2 communities in Kansas. By January 31st of 2025, there have been 67 active TB cases, 60 in Wyandotte and 7 in Johnson, and 79 latent infections. Now, health officials say it's among the largest in U.S. history, though the CDC notes more significant outbreaks have occurred. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment, CDC, and local health departments have actively responded with case investigations, contact tracing, and ensuring proper testing and treatment. And despite these efforts, 2 deaths were reported in 2024. TB is an airborne disease affecting the lungs, and it requires prolonged exposure for transmission. And while the general public's risk remains low, officials stress the importance of awareness and timely medical consultation for those with symptoms or potential exposure. Please be aware that this outbreak is happening, and we're going to continue to monitor the spread. So what do you think? Are you going to take any added precautions? Let us know in the comments section below. Now, I tend to see these news from a different angle than most people. And one, because I research it so much for segments like this, and I try to strip away the hype and over-sensationalism to just break down the facts for you. Admittedly, early in the video, just talking about some of these issues that I'm seeing playing out, yeah, it is frustrating to say the least. But secondly, I prepare for a more secure future for myself and my family and my community. And if you're anything like me, you're probably going to recognize the importance of prepping against these future uncertainties. Starting this month, I'm going to focus on this channel on the foundations of food storage. And I've got an introductory video that I'm hoping to release no later than Saturday, tomorrow, after this video comes out. And we're going to lead up to several videos over the next few weeks. And at the end of the month, we're going to do a video showing a new project that I'm working on, building a food storage area here at this property in one of the rooms that I have. And we're going to build out a pantry in there. We'll document and explain that process. Look, in these times of uncertainty, preparation is not just a practical step. It's an act of resilience, of taking control in a world that often feels out of our hands. And to you, my community, know this: what you are doing, it matters. You're not giving in to fear, but rather as a prepper, you are taking responsibility to protect yourself and those you love. And while others remain blind to the fragility of modern systems, you are preparing for the unexpected, ensuring that you don't get caught off guard no matter what comes. But beyond just the supplies and the skills that we emphasize, our most potent asset is one another. A prepared community is stronger than a prepared individual. Together, we can build security and hope. Again, if you want early access to our online community at a discounted price, I'm going to post a link to it below. I'll put in the comments and description section also below, and on the screen here on the side, some of the links to other videos that go into a much deeper dive on the latest on and off tariffs and some of the things that are going to impact. And I also will link to a video on building a 3-week food supply. So if you're new to prepping, you're definitely going to want to start there with your food security. As always, stay safe out there.